So we're back again with a new episode of Palms Podcast, and this is a special edition because we're gonna be talking about relationships. So yeah, let's.
We got 4 people all in relationships.
So yeah, we're gonna get some interesting opinions, and people's feelings might be changed after this video. But all right.
Huh?
So first question for everybody is so what do you exactly look for in a relationship? Like, what are the things that you want in a relationship? Exclude everything that's going on right now, but like, when you're looking, what would you be looking for?
Personally, I'm all about the personality. I'm one of those, like, if we match on that same vibe, you know? If your personality matches my personality, I'm all about it. Yup.
Yup.
I agree with Jasmine, and they have to be fun. Always down to try new things with you. You know, can't be too boring.
I mean, me personally, at first, always the first thing is their physical attraction. You know what I'm saying? Do I find this person to be, attractive to me? So, like, that's the first barrier, because if I don't think you're pretty, I'm not about to sit here and have a conversation with you. That's just how it is. But, like, once, you break those little first couple walls, you get to learn about people. And the thing about me that I'm interested in is, like, I like people that are kind of really smart. Like, I like intelligent people just because I can talk to them about things that are, like, deeper than just surface area things, and I can actually learn about them as a person instead of just looking at them all day because they're pretty. It's nice to be pretty, but be pretty with some substance. It's really one thing.
Right, because if you're just pretty, then we're not having a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's just pretty and then, like, I try and talk to you and we're not talking, then that ain't it. For me, I feel like I don't really look. I've never looked for a relationship, so I feel like I always just, like, relationships always just find me.
Yeah.
So
that's usually how the best ones happen. People.
Yeah.
I
like
find
starting with friends or something. That.
Yeah. I find it like a lot of my friends that I see that have relationship issues, it's always because they're constantly looking for someone to be with instead of, like, learning to be comfortable with their alone time and learning to just, chill out and let things happen naturally, because when you're like, people will always be like, oh, I wish I had someone to do this with, blah, blah, blah. You do that all the time, but then, like, say they meet someone and then it just falls apart because they're probably not ready. They're just seeing what other people are doing and they just want to mimic that and try to, like, think that they can just have that. And it doesn't usually work that way. It has to be natural.
I was gonna say, if you're always looking, then you're gonna be kind of quick to settle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, I'm always looking for. You're like, man, I wish I just had somebody that I could, go home to. Then as soon as somebody comes around that you could potentially go home to, it don't matter. It doesn't matter, like, who they really are. If you think that they're gonna be around for at least a little while, then you'd be like, that's the one. I'm in a relationship now. You don't care what he or she was like.
Yeah, and it's probably usually not a good thing when that happens.
Yeah. It might work out.
It might work out, but most instances, a lot of bad, not necessarily bad, but I would say not the most positive outcome usually comes out of that, because usually someone's feelings end up getting hurt because there is miscommunication somewhere along the line.
It should happen naturally. Having a relationship should never be forced.
True.
Okay, true. Another question for you guys. So, like, when you guys are in a relationship or whatever, and you're first learning about your partner, when something bothers you, do you wait a couple times? Like, when it first happens, do you wait a couple times to say something and see if that's just, like, it was a one-time occurrence, or do you, like, instantly shoot it and say, okay, cut it out, I don't like this, even if, like, it's the first time they've ever done it?
You gotta nip it in the butt. Like, okay, so if you're look, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, if it's something that you don't like, you can't just let something slide. Like, you talk about it. I mean, for me, I feel like if you're in a relationship, the most important thing is communication. Like, I mean, that trust and, like, being loyal to the person. I think those are the most important, like, the pinnacle of the relationship is being able to talk to each other. So if you're just like, I'm going to let it slide this time, you're not going to say anything, then I feel like, for me, you're kind of, just hurting yourself and hurting the relationship in the long run.
I've learned this from Ben over time, but in the beginning, I would just hold my anger in, and it would just create more problems, and it was just something I didn't want to deal with, both of us. And now we communicate with each other whenever we're like upset or annoyed, and like our problems are resolved just like that.
You were like a time bomb too.
Yeah.
Like it would all
Yeah.
pile up, and then
Oh.
one day it was just like, boom.
Yeah, just everything would
You
come
did
out.
this, and yesterday you ate my sandwich, on some like dumb stuff, So
I tend to try to nip it in the bud, but sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna use Palmer as an example here. Personally, I'm not a fan of people touching my lip, right? And so Palmer's the type of person that likes to goof around and touch
things that don't
things.
like to be.
You know what I mean? And I will constantly tell Palmer, please don't touch my lip. And I like to try to nip it in the bud, but the person I'm in the relationship with, some people just do not listen the way that they're supposed to. And he'll say, oh, it was an accident, or blah, 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 blah. And I will explode every time he does it. You know what I mean?
It's just like, there are small things, and then there's, like, this is how I look at things, People always say, oh, like, for instance, I'll see on, like, Twitter and stuff, girls will be like, wow, why are guys always playing their game? Why are they always doing this? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, guys could be doing way worse things than just playing their game in their room. But it's just like, people don't really look at that and give it
Irrelevant. So I like to try to keep it, like, cut it short. I don't know where he was going with this. But I like to try to nip it in the bud. Sometimes, in the early stages of the relationship, I'll be like, nah, I'm gonna just let it slide and be like, if it comes up again, then I'll be like, all right, listen. But if it's like a constant thing, I'll be like, okay, we gotta talk. And then I go from there.
Okay, next and final question.
Tom Bowson.
When it comes to happiness in a relationship, does your happiness come first, or does your partner's happiness come first?
Yours. Fuck your partner.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No. But seriously, like if you're not happy, then it's again goes back to the communication thing. You gotta talk to the person. You gotta talk to the person that you're with. If you're not happy with something, then like it needs to come up. And the same thing on the flip side. Like I feel like in any situation, you're always gonna look out for you first. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you're looking out for you and it's in the best interest of you and it's not hurting your partner, then I feel like it's something that you should, be like, hey, look, this is what I want, and we can make a compromise. I feel like it's not necessarily like, hey, all the time, this is my way or the highway. It's like, hey, this is what I want, so let's compromise on it if you want something different.
That's a good answer.
I know
The first part of
personally for me, I believe that two individuals in a relationship need to both be individually happy within themselves. That way when they come together, they can both bring their happiness, work with each other. I feel like a lot of the times a lot of failed relationships happen because one person can be really engulfed in another person, and their happiness will overtake their own happiness, if that makes sense.
And they'll lose themselves trying to fulfill someone else's wishes.
Yeah.
And then in turn, they'll begin to, question themselves and just question who they really are. And, no one ever wants to feel that way. So it's important to look out for yourself, but also, be conscientious of, your partner.
Right.
So
If you're not satisfied or happy with a relationship anymore and you're forcing yourself to stay in the relationship just for that other person, it's not going to help you mentally. In the long run, you're going to hurt yourself as well.
yeah, I think it's something you should like. If you're not happy, it's something that you should talk about with your partner. And if even talking about it doesn't fix it, then that's where you have to make that decision. But again, it all comes down to communicating and being open with the person. because your happiness is important, not just the other person's.
And that about sums it up for today. You know, I hope we were able to shed some light on people that may be going through things, and hoping and learning about relationships. You know, I hope this video reaches out to you guys and is able to serve as a good teaching tool. But that's all.
Amen.
Bye.
All right.